Hello there. Not sure if I'm in the shot or not. I'm trying to sort this out myself. Hello, Tim here. I've got a few things on my mind at the moment which I think are important for us to remember. I've just been for a wonderful swim in the Swan River at sunset. It was a stunning sunset, really enjoyable swim and so peaceful. And probably to no small degree because of the people behaving the way that they are. So I suppose the thing which has really struck me today, having discovered a few very significant, important things over the last 24, 48 hours, is how important it is to not control ourselves, but allow ourselves to be controlled by an ethic, if you like, or an influence of empathy, love, kindness, gentleness, humility, because I'm actually what I thought about this afternoon. Beg your pardon if I'm a bit scatty, but what I was thinking about this afternoon is it takes, I've been benefiting tremendously from I don't watch YouTubes, but I listen to podcasts when I have the opportunity, and the information that has been presented in those podcasts is just very helpful, very informative in a practically helpful way and an important way, factual way, truthful way, and most particularly regarding science and the reality of this sort of scenario that we're in at the moment. So I think, I've really appreciated, most especially in the last 24 hours, how much effort and how much work it takes to present something really coherent and something which is really presented well for the sake of, you, the audience, so to speak, or for other people to gain maximum benefit from. And I've realised how short I fall in that area, and I'm hoping, with the help of my friend who isn't here right now but has been helping me until now, or trying to help me. I guess I'm pretty hard to help sometimes, but I hope that I can get a lot better. It takes a lot of work to produce a valuable or helpful contribution. Anyway, the thing which I've really been struck by is, I think I've got quite, I suppose I could describe it as an eclectic sort of perspective. Like I've had the advantage and I suppose it's not merely an advantage. I think, I've had, it's been a gift to me to receive all the information that I have from different perspectives, and the way that information is presented, there's inevitably varying degrees of, the person's own perspective, presented at the same time. And I see there's a lot of conflict still brewing, if you like, or exists, and I'm really quite concerned, because I really admire and value, and I do actually support people doing their best, which is what they're doing. But I really, I suppose I let them down as much as anything else. But I realise that too often, I'm the same myself, incidentally. But just, this is a point that I want to make. Too often we get into a place where we get we become clear-minded and, really quite set free from a particular, lie really, and then we go from that lie, and we, instead of sort of being released into a truthful position, another lie jumps in and attaches itself to us, and we become fearful, and consequently angry and hostile and worried, all those things, because we have we've identified a particular enemy, and that enemy then is the place where we project our fear and our anger towards, and our hostility. When in actual fact we need to really identify that there are no enemies here. We needn't worry about an enemy as such, because if we allow ourselves to be sort of driven by fear into that position where we'd say, we can see who's responsible or what's going on, and we're angry, and it's, in some ways it's right to be angry, but that anger has to be expressed in a way that it's tempered by love, and it's tempered by love, not in a way that's naive and soft and fluffy and useless, but in a way that you say, okay, well, in order to be effective, to be steadfast and truthful, I need to not refer to my own knowledge of what's going on or my own perspective. I need to go beyond that perspective, and this is where it gets a bit, I've heard the term woo-woo, or it's spiritual, metaphysical, whatever, but it becomes like a case of saying, okay, well, I have an amount of knowledge and insight and information that enables me to develop like a perspective or a proposition, and the best we can do, and that's what it is, it's a proposition, the best we can do constantly is negotiate as if we were literally as if we were in a courtroom, and we're trying to negotiate a contract between ourselves and who until now we've regarded it as our enemy, because that group or that idea or that person or those people, whatever, they're not your enemy. They're because you're not actually fighting them. You're referring them constantly to a higher level of reality, which is far more across all this than what we are here in the physical. So I'm going into the spiritual and so forth, but I guess what I'm saying is these people have as much regard and as much sensibility that things are not as merely physical as what we might prefer them to be, even, but they have a real spiritual reality that and that spiritual reality, you could describe it as simply as good and evil. Good and evil, there's no doubt. Good always wins, man. Love always wins. Love always will triumph over fear, and so it's a done deal in that respect. And I guess the reason I think it's so important is that for love to actually win the day, it needs to be presented consistently to your enemy, or who, until that point that you express love towards them, they've been they've either considered themselves your enemy, or you've even regarded them to some degree as your enemy. They're people who are basically fighting against the offer, I guess you'd say, or counter offer. It's contract law. This is an established universal cosmic jurisdiction of truth and justice, which can set you free, because it does become a matter of fact that carries the day. But in order for that fact to be established, you must remain in a negotiation, and you must agree upon a contract between parties that is that is being worked towards, and that both parties are how can you say it? You're obliged to negotiate to that way. And if we, and this is what I'm discovering with the help of a lot of other people, mind you, and I suppose in lots of ways spiritual influences as well, but it's remaining negotiable, not being argumentative, not rejecting and closing down negotiation by argument, but simply being in practical terms, it's a form of empathy, is just saying, I accept your position and I regard your position and I make my own position known to you, and will only settle with you on the basis that on the condition that you accept and regard my position. So I think I've already mentioned about lex mercatoria, not mercantoria as I previously might have stated. Lex mercatoria, and I can see it, and the reason it's so highly valued and so powerful is it's simply a like a real negotiation and a real presentation of truth and honour and integrity that each party must bring, and there is an obligation to supply the necessary truth, or the necessary evidence, if you like, or necessary response to the negotiation. So on the basis of truth, it's very straightforward for us I kind of regarding myself here as on the side of truth, I guess you might say, but I'm doing my best to say, okay, well, it's not us and them. And one of the things I hear, and I know I've waffled on already enormously, but I hear the problem of people saying, well, China's been running this show, and there's this animosity, and then I've heard reported from China that they have an animosity, or they have an issue with the way Americans are. It's not about countries. This is not about it's not about the things that we see easily physically. This is about we definitely, there's a physical manifestation of things. We need to really tap into the the overarching the authoritative jurisdiction of cosmic law and order, so to speak, and realise that there are powers that are real, and they have there are people who are operating on the basis of this power, who we can deal with successfully, and they will be there is I suppose they will receive due justice, and so will we. But if we fall victim to the same behaviour as what they've fallen victim to, or what the bad decisions that they've taken, their free will or choice or whatever is to really pursue an evil agenda and an evil end, whereas we really, I think the majority of us actually are looking towards the good, looking for the good. We need to present to these people the good that we know, and that is not found in the form of identifying an enemy and letting rip and getting distressed and angry and upset about the way another country or another set of people are behaving. It's more about just being negotiable and being, like just being rested and being established in truth, so that you can give an account of yourself when you need to, and not on the basis that you're defending yourself, but on the basis that you're representing truth in essentially a jurisdiction which is established established in maintaining truth and justice cosmically. So God, effectively, and there are models and there are patterns of this have been demonstrated throughout history, and we need to be personally modelling it and demonstrating it. We need to be wise. I think the saying is wise as serpents and gentle as doves. And I think the way to be wise as a serpent is to understand that really we don't know that much, but we know that we can acknowledge truth and require truth and speak with confidence and with peace in our hearts if what we're saying is truthful. Getting a bit, I don't mean to take up this much time of everybody, but I just really want to say, look, I recognise I haven't been the greatest as far as being able to quote properly and recognise the people who provide so much valuable information to me, for me to be able to understand what I need to do next, and this being one of the things I need to do next, and I want to be a lot better at it, and hopefully with the help of others I can achieve that. But in the meantime, the message I want to bring is, look, everybody who is trusting in the truth and trusting in the good and trusting in God effectively is able to have peace in their heart and not be rattled by all this stuff that's going on, but to be, in lots of ways, find joy, even though it's a suffering. There's a lot of trouble in what's going on, and that's inevitable. But the value of being loving is that we not only we express things, we provide like a shelter for people. We need to be. That's what we need to do anyway. So I'll call it a night at that one. And yeah, like I said, I really do want to be more careful and more structured and all the rest of it to give you information that's based on, I suppose in lots of ways presenting more facts, but at the same time I realise that even it doesn't matter all the facts and all the rest of it. Knowledge is not as important as love. And knowledge puffs up and can puff us up and can give us an arrogance or like a lack of ability to, it can distract us, and we find ourselves being combative, like hostile towards our enemies, when we're called to love our enemies and negotiate with them and accept their propositions conditionally, not unconditionally. We're not walking away and abandoning truth to the lies that are put forward, but we're saying, okay, well, it's a matter of fact, truth is, can be established and must be established in order for us to be agreeable, and the burden of proof is upon the people who are trying to establish the contract on their terms. So what I'm saying is, we have the truth if we have love in our hearts, and that is a really wonderful experience. To a really, it's a solid position to live your life. Trying to work out I don't even know where this camera is pointing at the moment. I just got it stuck in a disposable coffee cup. So, but anyway, I hope that is the most foundational value, that we don't worry about getting all the facts. As the facts are important, but the most important fact is that we are here to love, and we are here to serve, and we're not here to live a life of fear, and we're not here to live for ourselves. And if we even extrapolate on that, when we talk about what here and now is, we have eternal life once we have entered into that state of love, that that reality of love, truth of love. And eternity is a very different existence to the type of existence that we experience when we're all this information, all this stuff's it's just a maelstrom, it's just turbulence all around us all the time. We need to just accept the truth and rest in the truth and love each other and love our enemies. So, God, I just waffle on sometimes. But that's my main message for tonight, is love your enemy. We don't have enemies in real truth. People might make us their enemy and try and do evil things against us. But our response is always just to say, well, it's to negotiate. It's not to argue and say, no, you can't do that. It's to say, well, you can do that, but if you can only do that on the condition that you're able to satisfy these terms of mine. And that's lex mercatoria. That's the law. That's the jurisdiction of law that is above all common and statutory law. It's internationally recognised. It's been established forever, and it will remain established forever because its basis is truth and justice, and ultimately, goodness. It's good versus evil. So, be good, and resist evil in a loving way, and that means, again, it's being wise as serpents, gentle as doves. And I haven't fully, we're all on a journey. So, hope that helps someone, anyone, everyone. And that's it for me. Right.